am 103 years old, and I need to tell you something before my voice becomes just another memory. When I was your age, 22, 28, 35, I kept saying the same dangerous sentence. I still have time. Time to fix my marriage. Time to chase my dream. Time to call my mother back. Time to take care of my body. Time to become who I wanted to be. I thought life was long. I thought 100 years was a mountain. Now it feels like a breath. Do you know what scares me the most at 103? It's not death. It's how fast it all went. I can still see myself at 19, standing in front of a mirror, worrying about how my waist looked in a dress. I can still feel my heart racing at 27, afraid to leave a relationship that felt safe but empty. I can still hear myself at 40 whispering, maybe next year. Next year, that phrase stole more from me than failure ever did. You think you're behind in life. You think you're late. You think you need more time to figure it out? But let me ask you something. What if the life you are postponing is the only one you get? What if the apology you're delaying never gets heard? What if the dream you keep saving for later expires quietly while you scroll on your phone at 2 a.m., overthinking a future that isn't promised? I wasted years being afraid, afraid to disappoint, afraid to start over, afraid to be judged, afraid to choose myself. And fear is clever. It doesn't scream. It whispers, not now. Wait a little longer. You're not ready. I listened for 76 years, and by the time I understood the lie, my hands were already wrinkled. My friends were already gone. My body was already tired. If you are between 18 and 45 feeling lost, stressed, confused, I see you. I was you. I was the woman who smiled in public and cried in the bathroom. The woman who looked successful but felt empty. The woman who thought one day she would finally start living. One day, let me tell you something gently and honestly. One day turns into someday. Someday turns into never. And never is where regret lives. At 103, I don't care about my reputation. I don't care if I sound dramatic. I don't care if this makes you uncomfortable. I care that you don't wake up at my age with a heart full of what if. Because regret is not loud. It is quiet. It sits beside your bed at night. It shows you old memories like unfinished letters. It asks questions you can no longer answer. Why didn't you try? Why did you stay? Why were you so afraid? I thought I had time. You think you have time. Maybe you do. But maybe you don't have as much as you think. So before I tell you the lessons that took me 76 years to learn, before I confess the mistakes that shaped my life, promise me something. Don't just listen to my story. See yourself in it. Because this is not just about a 103-year-old woman. It's about you and the clock you cannot hear ticking. Before I was 103, before these wrinkles, before this shaking voice, I was a girl who believed love would save her. My name is Eleanor. I was born in 1923 in a small house near the river in Savannah. Back then, the world was slower, or maybe I just remember it that way. We didn't have phones to distract us. We had silence. And in that silence, we felt everything. I was the second of 4 children. My father worked long hours. My mother carried the weight of the house on her tired shoulders. I learned very early what it meant to be the good girl. Don't argue, don't be loud, don't want too much. At 17, I had big dreams. I wanted to paint. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see cities I couldn't even pronounce. But I never said that out loud, Because girls like me didn't dream loudly. We dreamed quietly and responsibly. When I was 19, I met Thomas. He wasn't the most handsome man in the room, but he looked at me like I mattered. And when you grow up feeling invisible, that kind of attention feels like oxygen. He held my hand like he was afraid to lose me, and I mistook that fear for love. We married quickly. Everyone said, "You're so lucky," and I believed them. But here's something no one tells you when you're young: you can be loved and still feel alone. By 25, I was a wife. By 27, I was a mother. By 30, I no longer recognized the girl I used to be. I stopped painting. I stopped reading novels late at night. I stopped asking myself what I wanted because wanting felt selfish. So I poured everything into being needed: cooking, cleaning, smiling, supporting. And people praised me. "She's such a good wife. She's such a devoted mother." But no one asked, "Is she happy?" And the truth? I didn't ask myself either. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. The most dangerous place you can live is inside a life that looks good from the outside. Our house was beautiful: white walls, fresh curtains, clean floors. But inside me, there was confusion. There was restlessness. There was a quiet voice whispering, "Is this it?" I ignored it because I thought questioning my life meant I was ungrateful. So I stayed quiet, and that silence became my personality. If you are watching this and feeling lost, overthinking every decision, wondering if you chose the wrong career, the wrong partner, the wrong path, I need you to lean closer to the screen, because what I'm about to tell you, I didn't understand until I was 76 years old. The girl I used to be, she didn't need a different life. She needed courage: courage to speak, courage to disappoint, courage to say, "This isn't enough for me." But courage is heavy when you are young. So I chose comfort instead. And comfort slowly erased me. When people look at me now, they see a 103-year-old woman who survived wars, loss, heartbreak, time. But they don't see the years I survived myself. The nights I lay awake staring at the ceiling, asking God if I had missed my chance. The mornings I smiled while something inside me quietly cracked. I am not telling you this for pity. I am telling you because the next part of my story, the part that changed everything, almost never happened. And if you leave this video before the end, you might miss the one truth that could save you decades of regret. Stay with me, because the biggest mistake of my life was not marrying the wrong man. It was abandoning the woman I was meant to become. And I don't want that to be your story. I used to think my biggest mistakes were dramatic: marrying too young, not chasing my dreams, staying silent. But at 103, I see something deeper. My real mistake was believing illusions, illusions that looked harmless, normal, even responsible, but they slowly stole my courage. Let me tell you about them. And as I speak, ask yourself quietly, am I living this right now? When I was 24, I wanted everyone to like me: the neighbors, my husband's friends, the women at church. I baked pies I didn't have energy to bake. I laughed at jokes that weren't funny. I agreed with opinions that made my stomach tighten. Why? Because I was terrified of being disliked. Psychologically, Yashom, we are wired for belonging. Your brain treats rejection like danger, so you adjust yourself to survive. I adjusted so much, I disappeared. Here is what I learned at 80. The people you perform for will never truly know you. And the people who truly love you don't need your performance. Being liked is exhausting. Being loved is peaceful. If you are tired all the time, maybe you are performing in a life that requires authenticity. Thomas was a good man, responsible, stable, predictable. He came home at the same hour every day. He paid the bills. He never embarrassed me. From the outside, I had won, but inside, something was fading. At 29, I told him I wanted to study art in another city. He smiled gently and said, "Why would you need that? You already have everything." And I believed him because comfort feels logical. Comfort tells you, don't risk what you already have. So I stayed. Years passed, and I realized something painful. You can feel safe and still feel trapped. Comfort without growth is slow suffocation. If you feel restless right now, don't silence it too quickly. Restlessness is sometimes your soul asking for expansion. At 33, I wanted to write, not for fame, just to feel alive. I wrote at night when everyone slept, stories about women who were braver than me. But every time I thought about publishing, fear arrived. What if it's not good enough? What if people laugh? What if I fail publicly? So I told myself, I'll try later. Later became 40, then 50, then 70. At 92, I found my old notebooks. The ink had faded. So had the opportunity. Listen carefully. Your brain loves postponing because postponing feels safe. But every time you delay a dream, you teach yourself that it doesn't matter. And eventually, you believe it. If there is something pulling at you right now, start badly, start scared, but start. I fought with my mother over something small. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe a comment, maybe pride. We didn't speak for 3 months. Then she got sick. I stood beside her hospital bed in Savannah, holding her hand that suddenly looked so small. I kept thinking, we'll talk properly when she gets better. She didn't. There are conversations that never happen. There are apologies that never reach ears. If someone matters to you, don't wait for the perfect moment. Pride feels powerful in the moment, but regret is stronger in the long run. In my 40s, we finally became successful. Bigger house, better car, nice furniture. People treated us differently, and I felt proud. For a while. Then something changed. I started worrying constantly. What if we lose it? What if we fall behind? What if others do better? I wasn't enjoying money, I was guarding it. At 67, we lost a large part of our savings in a failed investment. I thought it was the end of dignity. It wasn't. We adjusted, we downsized, we survived. And I learned something shocking. The years I had the least asset were not the years I was least happy. Money solves problems, but it does not solve emptiness. If you are chasing money to feel worthy, you will never catch enough. At 26, I stood in front of a mirror and hated what I saw. Too soft, too round, not enough of whatever magazine said was perfect. I compared myself to every woman I passed. At 85, I looked at those old photos. I cried. That young woman was radiant, but she couldn't see it. You are criticizing a body that is fighting every second to keep you alive? One day, you will beg your knees to bend the way they do now. You will wish your skin was as firm as it is today. Please, stop punishing yourself for not looking like an edited image. Your body is your lifelong companion, not your enemy. Let me pause here. Everything I just told you, I learned slowly, painfully, and mostly too late. But the next lessons, the next ones, they hurt the most because they involve love and the ways I failed at it. If you think love alone is enough to build a life, stay with me because what I'm about to tell you might change the way you choose your future. There are mistakes you forget, and then there are mistakes that sit beside your bed at night, quiet, patient, waiting for the lights to go off. These are the ones that stayed with me, not the big public failures, the private ones, the ones no one clapped for, no one criticized, no one even noticed, but they shaped everything. Thomas was not cruel, but sometimes he was sharp. A comment about my cooking, a joke about my little hobbies, a sigh when I disagreed, small things, and every time something hurt me, I swallowed it because I believed something very dangerous. A good woman keeps the peace. So I kept it. I kept it so well that we stopped having real conversations. Psychology calls this conflict avoidance. Your nervous system chooses safety over honesty. But here's what they don't tell you. Unspoken truth doesn't disappear. It turns into distance. By 50, we were polite roommates. No screaming, no drama, just quiet emptiness. If something hurts you, speak. Not with anger, not to win, but to stay real. Silence might protect the moment, but honesty protects the relationship. When I was young, if someone chose me, I felt special. If a man pursued me, called me, wanted me, I felt worthy. But attention is not love. Attention is excitement. Love is responsibility. There was a time in my late 30s when another man noticed me. He listened more than Thomas did. He complimented me. For a moment, I felt alive again, and I almost made a decision that would have destroyed everything. Not because I didn't love my family, but because I was starving for validation. Listen carefully. When you don't feel seen in your life, you become vulnerable to anyone who looks at you intensely. The real work was not finding another man. The real work was finding my voice. Don't confuse being desired with being valued. They are not the same. I tried to be the perfect mother. Clean house, strict rules, high expectations. I thought structure would protect them. But what they remember most is not the clean floors. It's whether I was emotionally available. My daughter once told me when she was 62 years old, "Mom, I was scared to disappoint you." That sentence broke something inside me. I thought I was building strong children, but sometimes I was building fear. If you ever become a mother, your children don't need you flawless. They need you safe. They need your laughter, your softness, your apology when you're wrong. Perfection creates pressure. Warmth creates connection. And connection is what they carry into adulthood.